The hiring process is a pretty important one in the NFL. We talk about drafting players, acquiring players, and we know you got to have good coaches to go with it. Browns are in that search for an offensive coordinator. It's off to a bit of a slow start. I think it's fair to say that, right? And I'm not trying to say the Browns need an OC by the end of the week. I'm not saying that they're not going to find the right guy for the job. But they bring back an interview with Ken Dorsey, the guy that was out of a job. Guy got fired in Buffalo? Oh, Buffalo. Those poor Bills fans, man. Those poor Bills fans. But it all kind of relates. I watched that game yesterday, which was the best game of the weekend between Kansas City and Buffalo. I had one big takeaway, and it's not about the Bills' offense without Ken Dorsey. But it's something to do with offense. Browns searching for an OC. We got Deshaun Watson talking scripted plays on a podcast. We had a massive game down in Columbus. Fan interaction. Taylor Swift. Cavs are in action tonight. Our Tipico boost time up around the league. We'll get to our bracket. We got it all for you right here on a Monday edition, right here on Big Play. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Matt Fontana. He is Ryan Tyler. Good morning. Happy to have you alongside, kicking off another great week right here on Big Play. NFL playoffs going on. We're going to have a long conversation about Ryan Day today. Ohio State keeps doing it, man. And I know it's a lot of NIL money, and I know it's a lot. Maybe I got to talk Ryan Day coming up. I got to talk Ryan Day at 9:30 because people are just acting like he's not involved with this. And the Fire Ryan Day crew is immense right now. And I frankly don't understand it. So we're going to have a little conversation about the Buckeyes coming up. Of course, for the Buckeyes, what a win for the women's basketball team yesterday. That was a great scene down there in Columbus. Well, and then Caitlin Clark getting run over there. Storming the court, I think, is always an interesting thing in college basketball because it is a security risk. And I know football, they storm the fields too. You got these players trying to get off the court and poor Caitlin Clark. By the way, on her birthday, we'll get to time op coming up. It's her birthday today. So we'll talk about all that coming up. We do have some Browns. We'll get around the league, talk about the NFL games over the weekend. And we'll get to Deshaun Watson. So he was on Cam Newton's podcast on Lockerverse, the Unplugged, QB Unplugged with Cam Newton. And Watson spoke a little bit about the scripted plays for the Cleveland Browns. I do want to hear that. We'll get to that coming up in about 10 minutes. We start with the OC search. So they're bringing in Ken Dorsey. Ryan, no. Just no. And the Browns, this is an important hire, and this goes so much to a lot of the conversations that we have had about what you're going to be able to do with Deshaun Watson and getting him right. I know we're in for months of this, and they're going to hire somebody. I don't want it to be Ken Dorsey. I don't want it to be Ken Dorsey. Because that position on a team like the Browns, you need somebody on the upswing. You need somebody that's elevating their career. And if anything goes right, and in 2 years, they're getting interviewed for a head coaching opportunity, and maybe that's Ken Dorsey. I just don't buy that. A guy that got fired from the Buffalo Bills, and very clearly things turned around for Buffalo. And I'm not saying that people that lost their job shouldn't get another opportunity, but like Ken Dorsey just doesn't do it for me. Now, Gerard Johnson, who's the quarterback coach down there in Houston, that is much more intriguing to me. That was an offense that was clicking, that was playing really well. They got C.J. Stroud to play at an empty degree level. That's more of a hire that's my speed. I'd rather go with a little more of the unknown than a safe pick. Try to get somebody that's on the upswing, that's going, because for the changes that you're going to have to make to this offense, I got to tell you, Ron, the Browns are off to a slow start. I don't think it's going to be Andy Dickerson. There's a lot of scuttlebutt that was an interview for the O-line coach if Brian Callahan gets a job and takes Bill Callahan with him. And there's a lot of moves coming for the Browns, I think, on the coaching staff. Jim Schwartz is going to be here, thank goodness. Kevin Stefanski is going to be here, thank goodness. And the OC position is an important one. I know it is. And the Browns are off to a bit of a slow start. That's fine. And again, it's a cog in the wheel. It's not the most important thing in the world, right? I'm going to put a little bit on this. This is still going to fall on Kevin Stefanski. This is still going to be on Kevin Stefanski for calling the right plays. I believe he's going to still call plays. I think that's still what he's going to do. You want somebody that's going to bring a fresh view, whatever it might be. And I'm waiting to see. Johnson, I'm fine. I got to tell you, of the candidates I've seen before, or that we've seen so far, Ryan, Andy Dickerson doesn't do it for me. Ken Dorsey doesn't do it for me either.
Yeah, no, certainly not Ken Dorsey, especially given that we just saw him get fired from the Bills, and they were one of the hottest offensives in that last half stretch of the season. So I'm cool on that. Andy Dickerson, I think that was more of an information gathering thing, probably.
Sure, which gives you maybe a little bit of concern there too.
Yes, right. So Gerard Johnson would probably be, out of those three, definitely my top option.
Then it goes back to the games this week, and we'll go around the league coming up at 10, but it's all about offense, man. Like the one thing, and watching these games, and I want to give credit to the Lions, man. That's awesome. Congratulations to the Detroit Lions. They're going to the NFC Championship game. I'll be rooting hard there for the Kansas City Chiefs. Don't nobody want to see Baltimore go to the Super Bowl again. Not from this town. But it is all offense. Was this weekend not about offense? And I know Baker threw that interception late, but you watch that Bills-Chiefs game yesterday. And there was that streak of just touchdown drives. And I guess you could say, well, it was all about who the defense showed up for. No, you got to have a quarterback that when is needed to get down the field to go score a touchdown, you need an offense that you got to do that in. And that's the Browns. I have a belief that they have an offense that can do that. And it's putting Deshaun Watson in the right positions to do that. It's not out of the realm that he's doing what Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen do. Get up and down the field. But it is that much more important. Watching how these playoffs have gone, I'm doubling all the way down. Your defense can only take you so far. And I'm going to remind myself of that. Browns had the best defense in the NFL. You're still sitting at home. Now, did they get exposed by C.J. Stroud and crew? Yeah. Did Joe Flacco have a bad game? Yeah. I'm not trying to relive that from 2 weeks ago. But what I'm saying is offense just makes everything else easier. When you can get up and down the field, put pressure on that other team to score points, that is how you're going to be playing meaningful football late into the season. So I don't want it missed that the Browns defense is a big part of what we're going to do, but it's still all about the offense. And then that's why it kind of plays back to who you're going to pick here as your offensive coordinator. And again, it's not that I believe they're going to be calling plays or they're going to have a massive impact, but there's very clearly a need. The Browns made these moves because they feel like they're missing a piece, and they need that piece to come in here and get the offense to where you need it to go. That's my biggest takeaway from this weekend of watching all these games. You got to have an elite quarterback, and you got to make plays when they count. Now, speaking of making plays when they count, this was pretty interesting. So this is from a couple of days ago. Cam Newton's got his podcast, The Quarterback Unplugged. It's on the Lockerverse channel there on YouTube. And he had Deshaun Watson and Quincy Avery on. So most people, I think, probably know who Quincy Avery is. He's the personal quarterback coach for Deshaun Watson, and he coaches a lot of premier quarterbacks in the offseason, works with them, all that kind of stuff, and he is Deshaun Watson's personal quarterback coach. So they were on, and they were discussing a lot of different things. But the clip a lot of people are jumping to was when Watson was asked about scripted plays, or it got brought up about scripted plays and kind of playing within an offense. Here's Deshaun Watson from a couple of days ago, Lockerverse on YouTube, Quarterback Unplugged with Cam Newton. Here's Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson talking about scripted plays.
Game manager.
Sorry, I got the audio.
Manager held you back because you both have tremendous ability to do things outside of schedule, and like just not playing on schedule might have hurt
That's
you.
Quincy
in your career.
we're talking about.
You go first, too.
I say for me, I think not necessarily in a full game, but like the first half of the game. Because Cam, a lot of time, I'm not sure if your OCs did it, but like the first 15 plays, first 20 plays.
Already started.
Yeah, you know what that is. So you're trying to play within that. All right, this is where the ball usually go. You go throughout the week. You go throughout the different looks. All right, this, here. I've never been a fan of that just because I know the other team's going to adjust quick, and I got to adjust because they're not going to play me the same way like the other quarterback. They're not going to play me the same way like Brock Purdy. You feel me? They're not going to play me the same way like a Tua because I can use my legs, I can run, I do a lot more movement in the pocket, things like that. So, like, for me, I think, like, the first half, like, I'm trying to figure it out, and, like, I start off slow. But once that third and fourth quarter come around, Now you just calling your best plays. You trying to make some shit work, and you got to make your playmakers got to make plays, especially in that fourth quarter.
So there it is. That's Watson talking about the scripted plays with the Browns, which I thought was interesting because a lot of us believe that some of the best drives the Cleveland Browns had were the scripted opening drives from Kevin Stefanski. I'm not trying. This is going to come off like I'm belittling Deshaun Watson. I don't mean to do that at all. The guy knows more football than I do. But those scripted plays help set you up later in the game. Coaches tell you that we run plays on a script to see what they do in reaction to this motion or this route combination or this look, and then that helps formulate what we're going to call later in the game. When you see teams that line up against us in this, okay, now we know we've got an edge here, or watch them to do this again. Football is a giant chess match. It's what are they going to do versus what we're going to do. So I thought it was interesting to hear Watson now it's not going to go away. No NFL offensive coordinator goes away from these scripted plays because they're that important. But to hear Watson talk about that and say he'd rather just play kind of free and kind of brought up Baker Mayfield. Did it not? Did it not all of us? Because that's all seemed to be what Baker wanted to do. And the freedom of playing outside of the system and just go out there and make plays. You can't do that in the NFL. Now, I will say Deshaun Watson's a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield is. So maybe he feels like he's better off to go out there and just run around and make the kind of plays that are needed. But I thought it was, do you feel like that's a sense of disconnect there? Do you feel like Watson's comments, so I'm not trying to take out of context. We heard it. I wanted to play it specifically, so you heard it straight from Watson himself. I don't think he was saying that in any negative light. I think he was just chopping it up there with Cam and Quincy. They were just talking about things, and it doesn't even maybe relate to the Browns. He could have felt that way while he was in Houston, too. But with him saying that, it felt like there was like a little disconnect there. Or there was something about it he didn't like. And again, he could be talking about his general career that he's never liked the scripted plays. I just thought it was an interesting thing to hear from Watson. Again, a couple of days ago, Lockerverse, QB Unplugged with Cam Newton. Watson saying he doesn't like the scripted plays or he doesn't like because they should be free to play later in the game. But I go, Deshaun, the scripted plays help you later in the game, do they not? And a lot of people throw bouquets, in my opinion, as they should, at Kevin Stefanski for how he call plays, for how he schemes things up. Does Watson not feel that way? Is that not what he feels? I don't know. I looked this up quick, and I tried to do this for first drives, but the best I got is NFL teams' first quarter points. Who scores the most points in the first quarter in the NFL this past season? It was the Dallas Cowboys. They averaged 7.2 points per game in the first quarter. Detroit was second, San Francisco third, Baltimore 4, Miami 5. So if you want to look at it from that standpoint, all 5 up there were playoff teams, and a few of those teams still playing this weekend coming up. The Cleveland Browns were 16th in the NFL in first quarter points. Now, you know the teams that they were with? Kansas City and Green Bay. And those teams also made the playoffs, and Kansas City playing this weekend. So I just thought it was interesting. I wanted to see kind of where the Browns laid out on first quarter points because Watson didn't sound like he was all in on the scripted plays. And I was confusing to me because I just believed that the scripted plays were to help you get into the game in the second half and understand how the play calling was going to be, what plays worked, which didn't. And I'm trying not to make a mountain out of a molehill. I think he was just asked a question. He gave his thoughts on it. It doesn't even necessarily have to be related to Cleveland. That could be something that he even annoyed him back in Houston. I don't know, Ryan, but I just thought it was an interesting comment. Your thoughts on Watson here, kind of saying he doesn't like the scripted plays and how the game starts.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to read too much into it. I mean, it makes sense because you know that that's what he's able to do. There's a certain amount of quarterbacks that have that ability to either just make the play happen on their own or when something goes wrong, take it with either their legs or just make some magic happen. And we saw Deshaun do that a lot in Houston. And of course, it's going to relay then into this conversation with who this next offensive coordinator is. And I don't know. I guess at the end of the day, the question is, which we're going to find out sooner than later, is if Kevin Stefanski is going to continue calling these plays.
Yeah, and I believe he's going to. And it's getting the offense to that spot where Watson is comfortable with everything. And I think he's probably, like any quarterback, you want to start fast. You want to put the pressure on them, and you want to be able to go out there and run what you're comfortable run. And also what you run the best. There are plays that Watson feels more confident about than others, and those are one of the things he's got to do. And the other thing, he still needs more playmakers on this offense. There's only so much that I can ask Deshaun Watson to do with the players that are on this offense. You got to get a receiver this offseason. I think you got to shore up some things on other positions. You got to get guys back healthy. All of that will help it. But the scripted stuff was really what we thought what Kevin Stefanski was the best at. There's got to be some medium there. There's got to be some middle ground on all that kind of stuff to see. But I thought it was interesting to hear Watson talk about it. And he talked about a few other things in the podcast and that, but that was the one that you really take away the most of, that I sit there. I was like, all right. Doesn't really like the scripted plays, but that's kind of what Kevin Stefanski does the best, in my opinion, when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. To the OC hire, I mentioned that I'm kind of out on Ken Dorsey. The question is, who is it then? Is there this giant, deep pool of offensive coordinators for the Browns to start pulling from? Because as the coaching search continues on, and I'm talking about for the league, by the way, every week you're going to start getting more answers. There's probably going to be a hire this week somewhere. And then eventually there will be fallout from that group, or this person now becomes available. Teams are now out of the playoffs. Guys are open. Bobby Slowick's been all over the place last couple of days. Brian Callahan's still been getting interviews all of a sudden. You're going to see all this kind of fallout. And I'm just wondering, as the Browns go on, how deep is this OC pool? How deep is this offensive coordinator pool that they're going to be able to pull from and get the right people in here for this job? This is an important hire. This is one that I look at for the Browns, say this guy's not going to call plays. I don't think that it's going to be back to Kevin Stefanski, but there's got to be a little bit of a bridge here. There's got to be something with whatever the Browns are missing. They didn't make this move for these OCs unless they felt like they were missing something. And are they going to be able to find the right coach to give them what they're missing? Every OC is different. Every offense is different. You got to find the right guy to piece together what you're trying to do. And I'm worried about the pool. I'm worried about who the Browns, you're not going to be able to walk around and go, all right, well, we'll just hire the next great offensive mind and find whoever it might. I don't know. Like, I'm not saying I'm growing concern, right? I don't like the initial pool. I don't like the group that's out there already that we've interviewed outside of Johnson. You had to hire somebody today. I'm hiring Gerard Johnson down there from Houston. That's the hire that I'm going with. The other ones, I don't know. And I guess you got to wait to see kind of how it goes. But I don't know, Ryan. I don't want to be concerned. It's just the OC, but I need something here. I need a little something.
Yeah, are you a little surprised we haven't seen a hire yet? Not just within the Browns, but kind of the NFL. There still hasn't been that
Belichick's got multiple teams now reportedly. Vrabel's everywhere. I think Harbaugh. If Harbaugh is still the number one guy for a lot of these teams, then nothing is going to happen until he gets hired. Because then the trickle down would be, okay, if he goes here, then these other teams are going to have to kind of figure some things out. I don't know. I mean, it seems to be a little bit of a stalemate right now on a lot of these teams.
Do you still feel the same as you did heading into last weekend about Harbaugh returning to Michigan?
I still think he's going back. Yeah.
Okay, wow.
I still think he's going to go back. And we'll talk a lot of Ohio State. I want to get to the Buckeyes coming in about 10 minutes because this was a good weekend again for Ohio State, and then Ryan Day people are. But things have gotten a lot harder for Michigan. Ohio State had the best offseason of any school that you could imagine. And does he want to go back there? Is all this with the, I don't want to get fired for what's going on now at Michigan, is all of that getting figured out? I don't know. So I still think he's going to go back. But eventually, I think it's going to loosen up. It'll shake it up a little bit. And maybe some other people will start coming to the Browns, or at least the Browns will request a few more on the interim or on the OC position.
Zach Robinson, please.
That's a hot name. I've heard him kind of, that's the other thing. You know, when we do head coaches, it's easy because you know who they are. And when we do these head coaching searches, it's easy for people to jump on board. I want that guy because I've seen that guy and I know who that guy is. It's different with the coordinator level. It's not quite as easy. I know Browns fans are very well read and they know a lot about some of these guys, but it's harder to be all in on an OC just because you don't really know. or you really don't have as much of a background on some of these guys as you do some of the others. Everybody's got their favorite. And for me, I mean, I just said everybody's got their favorite. I don't know. I tell you what, here's the worst position I'm in. I can tell you the guys I don't want. I don't want John Dorsey. I don't want Ken Dorsey. And I don't want Andy Dickerson. I'd be interested in Gerard Johnson. I want a guy that has been part of a good offense. Ken Dorsey got fired from a good offense. Andy Dickerson was just an O-line coach for Seattle. I want somebody who at least has their fingerprints on a good offense. That's what I want brought in here. So I look at some of the good offense. Go find me somebody off the Andy Reid tree. Go find me somebody off the Rams. I mean, Zach Robinson. You go find somebody that at least has been a part of a good offense. That would be my number one criteria. And that's not the way the Browns can operate. You got to take these interviews when you can. But still, like, wouldn't that be it? I'm hiring you for an offensive coordinator position. Shouldn't criteria number one be that you're a part of a good offense? That you've got your fingertips on a good offense, your fingerprints, I should say, from your fingertips. They should be on a good offense. I don't know if I can say that about a couple of these guys.
Well, we might not get an answer to our offensive coordinator position pretty soon, but I got a feeling it's going to be Deuce Staley getting introduced here pretty soon for the running back.
You know, and that could be a good hot. Can we? Are we allowed to say? No. Oh, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All right. No. All right. No.
Probably not yet.
Okay.
We got something cooking.
I got something cooking. So we'll leave that for what it is of when that announcement will come, but we got something cooking on that. Yeah, I think it'll be Deuce Staley, and that'll be fine. And again, it's an important thing. We'll get back to the games coming up at 10 o'clock. I want to go around the league. We got a lot of Ohio State, but Cavs, let's go, man. 7-game win streak. NBA's longest one currently, and they take on the Orlando Magic. So here's what we're going to do, Ryan, because we are going to do a Tipico boost for tonight. We're going to wait because we do not at this point yet with Tipico have our player props. I feel really good about a couple of team props, but we'll get that figured out for tonight. So get signed up with our friends at Tipico using that code Fontana100. When you deposit and bet $25 with the code Fontana100, you will get $100 in bonus bets you can use on whatever you'd like. So again, we're gonna wait. We're gonna get this up. And they always boost it up for us on Tipico. But the Cavs down there in Orlando tonight, what a fall off. Remember the last time that we played Orlando?
Yeah, they
were like the 3 seed or something. Now they're back in the play-in tournament, the 8 seed. They've not been playing good basketball. Cavs have been. They got a little gap there. They're in the 4 seed right now. But it's interesting because I would like to go back and take a look at some of the game, the prior game. I feel like both of these teams are completely different now than when we played them a while ago. Right now, the Magic are in a stretch of losing 5 out of their last 7 games. Now, they've had some tough teams in there. The Heat, the Timberwolves, the Thunder were in there, and then they take on us. So I expect a big win for the Cavs tonight. I do. Little tip there. It is only a 1.5-point spread, which is interesting. Maybe are they feeling like somebody might sit tonight? I don't feel like the Cavs are battling an injury. I know Karras had the wrist, but I don't know. I thought that was an interesting line for the Cavs, who just completely smoked the Hawks the other night. And I really loved that game, too, because you were pretty much in control of that game, and you didn't need to exert Donovan Mitchell all that much. What do you have, 36 minutes? You had all 5 starters in double figures. George Niang, man. I want a George Niang prop for tonight. Yeah. That's really what I want the third leg to be. So maybe we can. Maybe we'll ask Tipico because the player props aren't up yet. I have 2 team parlays, and I'd like to throw George Niang back in there. You want to text him that?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Let's do it. Let's text him that. Tell him the 2 legs that we discussed. I want to do Cavs money line. I want to do the over, and then will they give us George Niang points? You want to just do double figures, 10+ points there for George Niang? You want to do that? Text that to them, see if we can get that cooked up for Tipico. So get a rocket for the Cavs tonight. Wine and Gold are just blowing away expectations right now. I am so happy with watching this team play. They've been able to keep it alive while Mobley and Garland have been out. I know they're close to coming back. But even games like tonight, you have put yourself in such a good spot. It's going to be a tough game. I know it's down in Orlando. They're, again, scuffling at the moment, so you're maybe a little worried that they have an up-and-coming game here against the Cavs, but I feel really good about where the Cavs are at. So we'll talk more wine and gold as we continue on, get you ready for our big Tipico boost tonight. And again, we got everything locked up. I want to talk a lot of Ohio State coming up because they got, yet again, another massive move this weekend. So they went down and got this Alabama kid, this quarterback, which I think is interesting because he's the 2024 class. Ryan, was he at Alabama or all he did was commit to Alabama and now he's at Ohio? Like, he's never even gone to Tuscaloosa, right?
Correct.
Interesting. Julian Sayin, who was the number 1 quarterback and the number 3 overall recruit, is now a Buckeye. They got Caleb Downs. They go back to Judkins, to Howard. We got to have a conversation about Ryan Day. Because, oh man, this is interesting. I'm going to have to, for a second, put on my Ohio State cowboy hat like Bucknut or whatever that guy is. And I'm going to have to defend Ryan Day to the nth degree. Because I defended him at the end of the season. And I said people were crazy for firing him or wanting to fire him. It's still a thing. People still do not want to give Ryan Day his credit. And I don't understand why. So we're going to get into what is maybe a heated Ohio State debate next. We'll go back around the league. We'll take a look at all the games. Solid weekend for us on the Tipico side of things there, Ryan. Well done. So we'll get ready for the AFC, NFC championship games as well. We got geared up for the Cavs. We got Time Hop. We'll get to our bracket this week as well. We got y'all locked and loaded. Fontana Show right here on Big Play, presented by Tipico. Using that code Fontana100 when you sign up. We got to talk Buckeyes. We'll talk them next. right, let's talk some Buckeyes. Welcome back. I'm excited to do this, but you can tell it's going to be like pulling teeth. Ryan, Fontana show, big play. Why do people hate Ryan Day? Why? Because he can't beat Michigan? That's every time I bring up Ryan Day, well, he can't beat Michigan. I had people try to tell me that it's never been a lack of talent problem for Ryan Day at Ohio State. And I'm going to say a statement that's really mean, and I apologize for lack of talent. What about Kyle McCord? He had C.J. Stroud, and he still lost to Michigan. Fine. You want to run Ryan Day out of town? Go ahead and do it. That's the stupidest thing to do right now in the landscape of college football, is to get rid of Ryan Day. First, look at the offseason he's had. Look at all the players that he's had transfer in. That is the number one transfer pool, which again is now, I think, going to become superior to the recruiting pool. Why would you not take guys that you know who they are? You've seen them on a college field before. You got an All-American, a freshman All-American safety this past weekend for Ohio State. I'll take that over any safety in the number 3 ranked and 5-star. I'll take a guy that actually on the field this season was a freshman All-American in Caleb Downs. So now with the with everything that's happened and transpired in the NCAA, right? If they're going to keep this transfer portal the way that it is, the transfer portal is now important more than recruiting. It is. Recruiting is still, you'd like to get these guys. Well, why not? When I just go out and transfer, Ohio State transferred a whole new team in this weekend. A whole new team. Their quarterback room went from, really, frankly, one of the worst in college football to it has to be one of the best. It has to be. You transfer in Will Howard, you got this Sayin kid now, and you still have Aaron Nolan hanging around, and Lincoln Kleinholz and all these other, whatever. But the fact that people still don't want to give Ryan Day credit for it boggles my mind. And the problem is I can't do this and I can't have this conversation without coming off like a giant Ohio State honk. And I'm not that. Ryan, you've known me for a little bit now. Would you say that I'm some giant Ohio State scarlet and gray nut?
I mean, you won't let your kid go to Michigan for a full ride.
Okay, that actually has more to do with Michigan than maybe Ohio
so
State.
I would say maybe you aren't.
Okay, maybe I am. Maybe it's been closeted the whole time. Here we are. But still, I don't consider myself that. The fact that people don't want to give credit to Ryan Day for these transfers, they're just paying him all this NIL money. No, you still have to be in a good position. You still have to be viewed as one of the better programs in the country. And do you want to know why? Go look at Alabama. The mass exodus that they have had. Go look at any of these other teams replacing a coach. And I will fully admit that maybe this is me fanning scared or being... Do you really want to do that? Do you really want to move on from a head coach in today's landscape? Every team that has fired or gotten rid of a coach, look where they're at. And I know Nick Saban is a legend and he's the best college coach of all time down there at Alabama, so it makes sense that they have a bunch of people leaving. But go look at any of these other schools. Texas A&M, you feel real good about Mike Elko coming in? Do you feel real good about the guy they hired there at Washington? No. The good schools kept their coaches this season. There is a change coming. There is a flip in college football happening with the expansion of the playoffs, with the transfer portals, with the NIL. And Ohio State is on the cutting edge of this, and you want to get rid of Ryan Day now all of a sudden? Why? Because you can't beat Michigan. They won the national championship. You lost to them with a one-score game. With, frankly, I think of a team that was void of talent. People want to go to that. Well, they always had the talent. No, they didn't. Okay, go look at the Ohio State team that played this year. That was not a very talented team. You had probably the best player in college football, Marvin Harrison, sure. Travion Henderson missed time. Kyle McCord was not good. Your defense at times, really bad. Really bad. And now you can run this back. You get back Denzel Burke. You're bringing back JTT. This team is finally what I look to an Ohio State team, and I believe that's it. That's the type of team that I look for Ohio State. This past year was a down year, and you still played the national champions to a one. Was it not one score? I keep saying it's one score. Was it not one score game?
I think it was because Colin McCord, they were
right. They were coming
end.
down at the end there and had a chance. I wanted to make sure because I keep saying that. I want to make sure that I'm right. If somebody sends me a tweet about the bowl game, I'll lose it. I will absolutely lose it. Do not look at that bowl game. I don't give a damn about that bowl game. 2020.
24-30.
24-30. Right. That's what I thought. 6 points. You played him to a one-score game. A team that went to go win the national championship with a team that I don't think was all that talented for Ohio State. And what did they do this offseason? They went out and they plugged every single hole to the nth degree. Seriously. They had the best offseason of any school that you could ask for. And there are still people that don't want to give Ryan Day that credit. I don't understand it.
So is this your national championship or bust?
Yes. Now, I'm glad you brought that up, too. I am not one of these people that don't expect the results. You should be in the national championship conversation every single year. I viewed this past year as what I thought was going to be a down year for Ohio State. And look what they did. This year coming up, you had better go undefeated, you had better get one of those buys, and you better be in the national championship game. 100%. But that is where I now have a level of excitement for that to happen. I'm not a negative person when it comes to Ohio State right now. So I'm like, oh, well, like there are people that are looking at it from a negative standpoint. I'm looking at it from the positive that this team has rebuilt and they are ready to go to win a national championship this year. Now, if they don't and if they lose to Michigan, sure, we will have that conversation at the end of the year. But for right now, I do not understand how people are still negative about Ryan Day. There are people that are pro-Ohio State, but they're anti-Ryan Day, and I just do not understand it. Their biggest thing is, well, the coaching and the play calling in the big games or the How can you be down on Ryan Day right now for the job that he has done? And the other thing, there are people that will not give him credit for these transfers. There are people that are going to try to say it's the NIL money or something other than Ryan Day. They'll try to grasp at straws for anything except that. And I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do with people. Like, I sent a tweet out yesterday because I said it after they got Caleb Downs. And I said, everybody still want to fire Ryan Day? Yep. If he doesn't get the job done there this year, yes.
So is it national championship or bust, or can he just at least make it there?
No, I would like to win it.
Yeah.
But go.
But do you think if
Johnny, has he won something I'm not aware of? Kerry, yes, losing 3 times to the team up north. And you want to know what? I think that gets back to maybe the crux of the argument. You mentioned earlier, I hate Michigan more than any sports team in the world. My son, my daughter will never go to Michigan. I hate them. But I fully admit that people put too much on that game. They do. Because I would rather go win national championships than beat Michigan. Like in a crazy world that we lost to Michigan this year and then we still made the playoffs and went and won the national championship, I would still look at it as a successful season. Some people get it twisted about beating Michigan is more important than national championships. I will never be on that hill. I want to beat Michigan, and usually more often than not, you need to beat them to go win national championships. Now, that's the problem with the 12-team playoff. Doesn't necessarily need to be the case anymore.
So this is going to seem like a silly question because I would know my answer if I was an Ohio State fan, but because we know how twisted that rivalry is with that team up north.
Sure.
Would you rather have, and I feel like I know your answer, but I feel like it might be different for some people because of how crazy they are. Would you rather have you lose to Michigan, because now with the playoff expanded, it's possible, you lose to Michigan 5 times in a row, but you get 1 national championship?
Yeah.
Or you beat Michigan 5 in a row, but you get 0 national championships? Because that's a simple answer. Should be, I don't care. I get 1 national championship.
Right.
But I feel like people would pick the latter.
That's what I'm saying is that has been so fabricated and created by the universities because it's a moneymaker, because it's a recruiting tool. But don't forget the big picture in this. And Ohio State will now be what? The second? Like, There is in no world that they're not the first or second ranked team starting next season. It's not going to be, or it's going to be Georgia and Ohio State, 1 and 2, in whatever order you want to look to. I know Quinn Ewers is going back to Texas. I think Oregon without Bo Nix, we'll see what they can do. There is in no world that Ohio State this upcoming season should ever drop below 1 or 2 for most of the season. But there are people that they're going to be like curmudgeons about it. And they're going to watch every game from the, well, you better not lose this game, as opposed to, let's go out and win this. You know what I mean? You get what I'm saying? Like the don't lose versus the we got to win. And I'm sure a lot of Ohio State fans are very happy right now because you had an offseason that you brought in all of these great players. Yes, there is pressure and there are expectations, but I get it from the fans. Oh, well, you better go win these games. You better go. You better get this done. And I'm coming in from, dude, we're one of the best teams in the country. Let's go get some wins. Let's get it done. And especially make a move. Go ahead. Make a move on Ryan Day. And I'm not saying that I won't. If they miss out this season, they lose a couple of games this season coming up, I will join everybody on the we got to get out of Ryan Day. He's time to go on, right? And I flipped. I thought this might be a down year for Ohio State coming up. I expected them to lose a couple of games. Now? No. You better go undefeated. You better be in the national championship game because of the moves they've made this offseason. But I still am going to let this play out. I am still going to watch how this season goes and give credit where credit is due. People will never do that. That is the issue, is that Ryan Day is so disliked by a good chunk of Ohio State fans that no matter what he does, no matter what recruit, no matter what transfer he gets, it's never going to be good enough. Because unless he can create the DeLorean and go back in time and beat Michigan, people will just have it out for him as long as he's here. Because he lost to Michigan to start out his career. Because, well, you lost to Michigan. It's the most important. To your point, Ryan, he could go out and win the next 5 games against Michigan, and people will still be bothered that he lost the first 3, or at least the last 3 against Michigan. And that's where the craziness of the fan base comes in, and the hyping of this of the rivalry and all that kind of stuff. Ohio State has had the best offseason of any team in college football, and I'm going to give credit to Ryan Day for that. Yes, the assistant coach. I got that tweet a lot yesterday, too, from people. Well, it's the assistant coaches, Matt. They're the ones that do the heavy recruiting here, that talk to all these players. Okay, fine. Who hired those assistant coaches? Who has put Ohio State in the position that they're in right now? I'm not saying Ryan Day deserves all of the credit, but he deserves a piece of it, and you better give it to him. You better give it to him. Because you could be one of these high-profile programs that are drowning. There are some of these teams that are searching around that they know they're in a lot of trouble. And whether it's they never fully embraced the NIL, it's never embraced the transfer portal, or frankly, they just made the change like Alabama. Do you really think Alabama's going to do anything now? Anything? That's the other part of it. You could go hire the next Dan Lanning, right? Because I'm trying to think of the last, slam dunk hire that you've had in college football that's actually worked out. I won't even join you on Steve Sarkisian. Give me a little bit there on Sark, because he's had his chances as a head coach before and all that kind of stuff. You go find me the next Kirby Smart? Yeah, sure, fine. It's not as easy as you'd think. It is really not as easy to go out and find some of these guys. So you have a coach. Is Ryan Day the best coach in college football? No, but he's also not the worst, so I'm not ready to make a move here. I'm just not. And I want to give him the credit that is due here for the transfers, Ryan, because I think Ohio State's had a fantastic year. Fantastic offseason, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, every day it seems like a new either recruit, 4-star, 5-star transfer is just hitting the portal for the Buckeyes. I mean, yeah, you hit the head on the nail. I don't even think it's close in terms of what school has had the best offseason. Like you said, pretty much every gap and deficiency that you saw last year, they went and made a move to fix it in a big way, too. So I got to imagine it's going to be Georgia followed by Ohio State to be favorites to win the Natty next year.
Absolutely. So we talked about this. Heather Dinich did this morning here on ESPN. The biggest games, as far as the top 12 games with the biggest implications for a 12 8-team playoff. So these are the schedules as we know are out. Number 3, Ohio State, Oregon, October 12th. Why it will matter to the committee. Ohio State and Michigan aren't the only Big Ten teams capable of winning the league. Now you bring in Oregon, a talented enough team to earn a historic title this season, a path that could start with a home win against the Buckeyes. This game is critical to both teams for their playoff hopes, as we expect. The only other Ohio State game on this list is Michigan-Ohio State at 6. And that's it, Ryan. That's it. And as we talked about Ohio State's schedule, those are the 2 games that matter the most. You got a Penn State game that you can mix in there, but you're talking Oregon, Ohio State, you're talking Michigan, Ohio State. Those are the only games. You win this 2, you're going to be in, and you got a chance to go win a national championship. That's all we could ask for. That's all you could ask for the Ohio State Buckeyes. So they had a great offseason. They've had a great weekend again. I had to take a little heat off of Ryan Day.
Do you feel better?
A little bit. I mean, dude, just give the guys credit. I'm not asking for everything. Just give him a little bit of the credit for the success that Ohio State is having right now. And I think it's frankly wrong of people that they're not doing it. Got to play the games out. I understand the people that are angry with Ryan Day, and they're not going to feel any better until you start playing games. But you have got to admit that they have had the best offseason of anybody, and he deserves credit for that. He really does. Back to the Cleveland Browns as they get geared up for finding their next OC. And we run through the importance of this move when it comes back to Deshaun Watson. Because, Ryan, I watched these games this weekend, and I'm really going to go back to this Kansas City-Buffalo game, where you watch these offenses duke it out. And again, in a crazy scheme where it was only a 27-24 game. This was not a 50-point type of game or anything like that. But the stretch that I look at was right before half. Chiefs go 5 plays, 65 yards, touchdown. The Bills come back, 12 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. Take out the 1 play at the end of the half. Then the second half starts 6 plays, 75-yard touchdown Chiefs, 15 plays, 75-yard touchdown Bills, 8 plays, 75-yard touchdown Kansas City. Then you had that insane fake punt. How Sean McDermott, do you got to answer some questions for that?
What in the world was that?
And everybody goes, well, they fumbled on the next play. I don't care. You weren't even close. You were short by 2 yards. Then, yes, we've discussed the fumble into the end zone, which is a stupid thing. That would have been a touchdown there. Punt, missed field goal, end of game. That's how it finished out. Ryan, in essence, I look at it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 drives. 9 of the critical drives. You had touchdowns on, and I'll tell you, I'll do you one better. Take out that end of the half drive where they had 1 play for minus 13 yards. They were going to halftime. 8 drives in the critical moments of the game. You had 5 touchdowns, which really should have been 6. You got to have offense to score in the playoffs. And that is where I watch the Browns, and I truly have a hope that they could do that. I watch these games, which is so hard in the lens of, could the Browns stand up with these teams? Could the Browns go toe-to-toe with the Bills, with the Chiefs, 49ers? Now, we know, because in the regular season, we did go toe-to-toe with a lot of those guys. But I watch it, and it just reminds me that is the brand of football that you got to play to win. You have to have drives of a quarterback and an offense going down to score a touchdown when you really need it. That is how the NFL has set things up. That's what they want to see. And I think the Browns are close. Now, is the critical piece the offensive coordinator? Is this the thing that's going to unlock? No. I think this is a piece of the puzzle. It's a little part of it. But it's what we're going to talk about for 8 months, man. It's Deshaun Watson getting right. It's all about what he is going to do for this offense when it matters the most. And we played the clip earlier. I don't want to play it again. But he was talking on Cam Newton's podcast about the scripted plays and, him getting out there free. I could be negative and say, well, Deshaun, scripted plays or not, I didn't see a lot of good football out of you this year. And you were injured, and then you tried to come back and play injured, and then it got worse. And I'm waiting to see the best version of Deshaun Watson with the Cleveland Browns. Now, the exciting part of that is, Ryan, I've not seen it yet. So there's room for that still to be a thing. There's still there's the world that Deshaun Watson is back in an elite quarterback. We're not there yet. But I do realize that you ain't going anywhere unless he gets back to that level.
Well, good news is we did see one half of that version of Deshaun Watson
one
last
half
season against the Ravens.
That's it.
But then that half did prove, though, if you can get back to that, I mean, we look like that would be a top 3 quarterback in the league right now, and that was against a defense that still hasn't been beaten since that day.
Right. And I saw some people send that tweet out about what Watson did in that game, and realize where the Ravens go. And I think there's a conversation to be had, too, about what do you take away that you beat 2 of the teams in the championship game? You beat the 49ers, you beat the Ravens. Now, the playoffs are very different. You know, can I be negative for a second, too? Some of these paths have been not great. You know what I mean? Like, watching the Texans play the Ravens didn't really do it for me. The 49ers Packers was fun, but I didn't get any. Did you get the best team? Are these the 4 best teams in football? Do you believe that? And maybe because I was so hyped on Miami and Buffalo, and they obviously Buffalo was there. Miami let down. I don't know. I think Kansas City's had a really hard path, really tough path. I think 49ers kind of cakewalk. I think the Lions kind of cakewalk. I might be wrong for that. Maybe I am, but it all comes back to, I think you have some of the best offenses. I say what you want about Brock Purdy, but you have the better, like a good chunk of the best quarterback, like mostly Patrick Mahomes. I watch what Patrick Mahomes does, and he turns it up, and you knew Kelsey was going to come back eventually. That had kind of been like just laying in the weeds a little bit, and you knew they were going to show up for a big game like that. But I watch how these teams play. I watch how it operates in the playoffs. And, dude, it all is going to come back to offense. Doesn't mean I don't want the defense to play well, and I'm sure they will. But, bro, it's got to be everything on the offense right now. It has to be. And that's where this OC hire, whether it's like, I don't like where they're at right now. I don't know. I'm kind of in a conflicting spot. It's not a great feeling of where the Browns are at because I see these teams that just rip off 15-play, 75-yard drive. Can you do that? Now, we did that with Joe Flacco. And you did that at times. Can we do that with Deshaun Watson? Is that something that he's going to get back to that form? Because that's everything that they need. That is 100% the key to the Browns. And it's the key to the NFL. That's everything right now. Watching how these games play, what do they want? They want points and stars. They want quarterbacks. They want offensive games. They like when teams rip off those kind of drives. And also, you expect to face these teams for a good chunk of your relevancy, right? Of the era of the Browns that are in, where we expect to go, we're built up, this is the run that you're going to be in. This has got to be time. Dude, you're going to have to go through Miami. You're going to have to go through Buffalo. You're going to have to go through Kansas City. Baltimore's in our division. You expect Cincinnati to come back with Joe Burrow. It's got to be all about the offense. And I'm not trying to discredit what the Browns defense did or how good they were, but dude, I'm saying what everybody knows. I'm saying everything that we know is got to be on Deshaun Watson. It's got to be all about him taking a football and going 75 yards in 10 plays to go score a touchdown when you need it. When you need it. I want to see it. I need to see it. That's it. And we're not going to see it for another 8 months. 8 months before the season starts. And all these questions surrounding him, all these questions surrounding the OC job and what Kevin Stefanski's going to do, call him plays or not. But that's watching these games, you realize everything that importance of how it comes down to the offense and what the quarterbacks are doing. All right, we're going to go around the league. I want to dive into each and every one of these games coming up. Do not forget about the Cavs. I want to talk Cavs coming up in hour 2. We're going to get our Tipico boost up, folks. Tipico, sportsbook of us here at Big Play. Sign up with the code Fontana100. If you've not tried Tipico yet, download the app, sign up, code Fontana100. Deposit and bet $25 on whatever you want. you get $100 in bonus bets to use on any game that you want. College basketball is rocking. You got the football playoffs. You got hockey. We got it all. A little golf, if anybody is interested in that, coming up very soon. It's all up on Tipico. It's super easy to use. I love the app. We use it here, and we get our boosts. And the other thing, I was playing around with that flex parlay this weekend, Ryan, where you can do a 3, 4 leg, 6, 7, whatever leg parlay you want, and you can do what's called a flex parlay. And what that is, I just want 3 out of my 4 legs to hit. You'll get a little reduced odds on that. Dude, flex parlay would have hit this weekend. Because the only game that we missed was the 49ers. They were the only ones that didn't cover.
Yeah.
So if we would have flex parlayed that, which I looked at it on Friday, that would have been plus 100. We would have been even money. And the thing is, you don't have to pick which game it is. It's just 3 out of the 4 hit. If we would have flexed that, talk about hedging your bet. Right?
Yeah.
That's a great way to hedge. You got a parlay that you're rocking for the weekend. Hedge it with a flex. You know, put a couple dollars in on your regular parlay to see if it hits big. And if it doesn't, flex it on out. I love the flex parlay. I love the boost. The reward system is rocking there. And we talked a little bit about this on Friday. They've got this new playoff scoreboard going on where somebody's going to win a year's worth of bets with Tipico. Get signed up today. Use that code Fontana100 when you do. Get your bets in, and we'll get our boost for the Cavs coming up. Got a lot more wine and gold to touch on coming up. All right, let's go around the league, take a look at the playoff weekend. We'll do it next. Fontana Show right here on Big Play. All right, let's get into it. 4 games on the weekend. AFC, NFC championship games are set. We go around the league. Ryan, take it away.
Alrighty, Matt. Well, Baltimore's headed to the AFC championship game after they beat the Texans 34-10. A pretty close game there in the first half. Headed into halftime, it was tied thanks to another punt return there from the Texans special teams unit, but they fall flat in the second half. Lamar dominates, and the Ravens are moving on.
I was shocked to see just how the offense completely fell off for Houston, right? And that was the concern a lot of Browns fans had when we played them. Dude, they ran for 38 yards as a team. You can't do that and try to win a playoff game. You just can't. Lamar Jackson, it seemed like a little bit of a feeling out process and maybe the week off. And then they just turned it on in the second half and then just ran away, literally ran away with that game. Yeah, in the first half, you're feeling like, okay, maybe this is a game. The thing is, you put up 3 offensive points in the game. You're right. They had the punt return for a touchdown. They had nothing really cooking. Again, kind of goes back to the conversation we were having about my biggest takeaways from the playoff pool here is you can't score points. Your offense is not in a good position. You're not winning anything. You're just not. Baltimore... Ryan, does that game make you feel better or worse about them winning the Super Bowl?
Better.
Like, better? You think that was a game that really proved something to you about them winning?
Their defense is awesome.
See, and that's the thing. It's the chicken or the egg. Do I give credit to that defense for what they did to C.J. Stroud, or do I say the Houston offense just sucked? I don't know. That's the toughest thing. I go back and forth. I will fully admit I'm a Baltimore hater. I'm a Browns fan. But still, I just think Houston... They didn't show up in the second half at all. I'm not trying to take away things from Baltimore, like, great, but not tipping my pick for this weekend coming up. I don't know if I was overly impressed with Baltimore. It was a nice win. It was. But they looked like a rookie team in that second half, did they not? Talking about Houston?
I mean, yeah, for sure.
Now, if they lose Bobby Slowick, which I picked him to take a job. I think I picked him to get the Tennessee job. But that's my thing, man. I wonder about Houston. That you had a season that was above and beyond any expectation that you could have had. And you might lose a big piece of what you were doing with Bobby Slowick, especially because DeMeco Ryans is a defensive-minded head coach. And I'm sure C.J. Stroud learned a lot this year, and he's going to continue to ascend. But that's a pretty precarious situation that they're in right now. They had a great year, but they're also staring down the barrel of losing maybe one of the biggest pieces to that with the Houston Texans. Very intrigued to see what the Texans are going to do this offseason. And again, I always look at it through the lens of being a Browns fan. I'd like them to not be good. That'd be a great thing if they weren't good for a little while. You flip over for Baltimore. Again, you got to give credit where credit's due. The thing is, are they going to keep running it with Lamar the way that they were? 11 carries, 100 yards. I mean, that's pretty good. Couple of touchdowns there. Kansas City is a team, though, that they've seen over and over and over and over and over again. Do they maybe have something for Baltimore? We'll see. To your point, you feel better about Baltimore potentially winning the Super Bowl. I'm going to say they maybe a little worse. I expected maybe a little bit more out of them, but that's just me hating probably.
The 49ers are headed back to the NFC Championship game after they beat the Packers, except this year the 49ers will be at home for that game against the Lions. Packers, pretty good game. They were leading headed into the fourth quarter, Matt, and a crazy stat that just doesn't seem real. 49ers are now 1-30 under head coach Kyle Shanahan when they trail by 5 or more points entering the fourth quarter. But if you're a Packers fan, you got to be pretty happy with this season. You got it down to the wire, and you were just this close to going to the championship.
Sure, and I'm glad because they brought that up on the broadcast too about that stat under Kyle Shanahan, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, the 49ers, I think maybe a little bit like the Baltimore Ravens, that week off sometimes can hurt you. And they showed up in the second half. Christian McCaffrey's a beast. The biggest question is Deebo Samuel now. Did he re-aggravate that shoulder injury that he suffered against the Browns? It was weird. Maybe I missed it, Ryan. Did you see anything on Deebo yesterday?
I did not.
I didn't either. So they might have more information on it today. you still see how good the 49ers can be. Okay, gee, they got to throw it to George Kittle, and they got to run more with Christian McCaffrey. But Debo's a big part of that. Defensively, that was the other thing I was going to try to watch with San Francisco. And there were times, man, that Jordan Love carved him up. Do you know they did not sack Jordan Love in that game? Didn't sack. Now, you turned him over twice, which was important. Green Bay, dude, you get one more playmaker there for the Green Bay Packers, and I think you're really dealing with something strong up there. I know Watson was battling injury. I think Aaron Jones is just solid, all that kind of stuff. But still, if they got one more receiver up there, I think there's something real dangerous there about the Green Bay Packers. For the 49ers, kind of status quo for me. Kind of the same question we were asking earlier. Do you feel better or worse about this team going to win the Super Bowl? I feel about the same on San Francisco. I don't know if I feel all that much better. I think they did what they were expected to do. And, a good effort there by Green Bay. Kind of waited them out. They scored the points late when you needed them. Good job by San Francisco. I'm uber excited to see them against Detroit. Game we'll get to next, I'm sure.
Well, the Lions, yes, Matt, they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're headed to the NFC Championship, but they'll be on the road as they played their last game this year at Ford Field. And I'm sure everybody saw Aiden Hutchinson reveling in the moment as his hometown gets the win. For Baker and the Bucs, his second straight game with 300-plus passing yards and a couple touchdowns in those playoff games. But next up for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is how much money are you going to give Baker Mayfield? Yeah,
I mean, he wants to come back. Todd Bowles said that too. The biggest thing about that was the turnover, the interception late. I mean, what are you going to try to do, right? You're down. You need to get back down the field. They didn't have any timeouts at that point. But it was interesting that the game came down to that. Like, I thought Detroit would be able to ice it away there on that last drive. They couldn't. They had to punt. Would you feel good about Baker? I know it's so hard to talk about Baker in this town. Would you feel good if you were Tampa Bay about Baker Mayfield moving forward in the future? Would you say slam dunk right now, sign him to some 5-year extension?
Slam dunk, no.
Okay.
Do I feel comfortable for him being their quarterback next year? 100%.
But if you want him, maybe you got to sign him to a 5-year deal.
Exactly.
Maybe he wants to get paid finally.
And you know what? We had to make that decision once here in Cleveland, and I'm glad it's not our problem anymore.
You also better sign Mike Evans. Holy good God, cow, how good is he? So good. I want him here in the Browns in the worst way. That is my one wish to the Browns genie out there if they exist. Ooh, a new fan that could probably be created. New super fan, the Browns genie. He ain't coming here. They ain't letting him hit free agency. He is everything to that offense. For Baker, I know there's a lot of Browns fans out there that are still Baker Mayfield fans. I had nothing for or against that game. I was excited for Detroit fans, certainly. We'll talk a little bit about the Lions coming up. But if you're Tampa Bay, it's, again, don't fall for the banana tailpipe, man. Don't. We saw years like this.
What are they going to do?
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think you saw enough of Baker but this is so parallel. This is literally everything that we saw here in Cleveland. And if they want to sign him to a 3-year deal, sure. And that would be my biggest thing. I'd sit down and I'd say, hey, man, we're not giving you this 5-year nth degree deal. Here's 3 years, 80 whatever million, 90 whatever million. Sign that, go out and play well again, and then we'll redo the deal, okay? I don't know if Baker's going to take that. Do you really want to enter free agency this offseason with all these other quarterback moves, with all these quarterbacks coming in the draft? I don't know about that either. I would not sign him to some 5-year Uber, some odd deal. But I don't know how good I would feel about him being my franchise guy moving forward. Tampa certainly exceeded expectations this year. Good for them. We'll see where it goes. For the Detroit Lions, man, 32 years. It had been 32 years since they had made it to the NFC Championship game. And we're going to probably ask this question tomorrow on 2 for Tuesday.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Do you feel a little kindred spirit there with the Detroit Lions? Do you? I mean, I think it works because, number one, they're in the NFC, so they're not a direct rival to us. They're a partner on the Great Lake, if you will. And there's a lot of comparisons. But the thing is, Ryan, if they go to the Super Bowl, we are now the only legacy team that hadn't made it. And I take out the Houston Texans and like the newer teams, the Jacksonville Jaguars and stuff like that. Of the legacy teams, it was us and Detroit that had never been to the Super Bowl. And now it'd just be us.
Doesn't bother me.
Misery loves company, though, Ryan.
It doesn't
do they not?
It doesn't do anything for me.
All right, you're going all in on lines. So we'll ask that for tomorrow. For the Can I ask a quick question on the lines? Why do you give David Montgomery any carries? Give every carry to Jahmyr Gibbs. Don't ever let David Montgomery touch the football again. Seriously, how do they rationalize that? Gibbs should be your number one guy. The football should be going to 3 people. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, and Jahmyr Gibbs. That's it. Don't give the football to anybody else in that game. That's it. It was just watching the game, because didn't Montgomery have a fumble too? Did he not have a costly fumble? Or didn't pick up no, it wasn't a fumble. Maybe he didn't pick up a first. I don't know. There was something I was watching. I'm like, why do they continue to give him carries? Give it to Jahmyr Gibbs. He's your better back. I don't know. For Detroit, the hype is the biggest thing about them, is it not? Like, the players are, I'm not discrediting the players, because there was a point in that game watching, I was like, man, is Amon-Ra St. Brown a little overrated? And boy, did he show up in the second half. And the same thing with Jared Goff. Like, Detroit is doing it in a non-sexy way, but they're doing it kind of like the Dan Campbell way. There's the hype about Dan Campbell. That is what I think is carrying Detroit. That being said, I don't know what they'll have for the 49ers coming up, but it's a hell of a nice run there for Detroit. Congratulations to Lions fans. They certainly deserve it.
Well, before we get into this last game, I want to bring this topic back up, Matt, because I think it was a show during last week we talked about it. I think it was a Dan Graziano article about Jordan Love. It was an overreaction, underreaction if he's going to get paid that Dak Prescott numbers.
Now people are saying he's going to be like.
I remember I said that it wasn't an overreaction, but I think you and Dan Graziano initially said it was an overreason.
What we were saying was he wasn't going to exceed Dak. You thought he was.
So now I'm going to
bring up the Schefter report.
So now I'm going to ask you, is your opinion changed on that?
Well, now Schefter's saying that he might get the bag, man. Like, he might get paid. And I think with these teams, the money is one thing. It's more the years. Like, you have now felt like Jordan Love is your guy. And I operate in a world, it's a little similar to Deshaun Watson, where I say this. If the quarterback that you believe is the guy, whatever deal you give him, that deal will get redone. You know what I mean? Patrick Mahomes signed that $400 million deal, okay, right. But that deal will eventually get redone because you want your guy to be happy and be one of the top guys paid and all that kind of stuff. For Jordan Love, I'm more interested in the years, right? Are you giving him this 5 year? Are you willing to go sign him to some massive year deal? Because if we've seen anything, you can get out of the money. Eventually, the money will move, and it's the years that I look at. Are you ready to rubber stamp it and say, yes, we're going all in with Jordan Love, or do you still need to see more? Do you want more before you go all in? For me, I've seen what I need to see. You sign him to a deal, he's going to be what? I would say probably the 3rd or 4th highest paid quarterback at that point. You got to go for it. But for me, I'm milking every year out of this that I can. I'm trying to give him as many years as I can. Money will have to coincide, certainly, but I'm trying to get him to a 6, 7, 8 year deal if I could. I'd do it for sure.
Well, the Chiefs are headed to their 6th straight AFC Championship game. Patrick Mahomes has never missed an AFC Championship game appearance in 2018 since he took over in Kansas City. For the Bills, 2 words that will be etched in their history: wide right. Bills fall short after a late missed field goal by Tyler Bass that would have tied the game and more than likely sent the game to overtime in another Mahomes-Allen classic.
Are the Bills cursed? Is Josh Allen going to be one of those guys? I saw it on ESPN this morning. Is he going to go down like Phillip Rivers and Chris Paul and some of these guys that just, they're good. They're always viewed as one of the best guys at their position, but when the playoffs show up, they never get it done. And it's not even so much like that game was Josh Allen's fault. I really, and I'm going to ask the same question I've asked about all the teams that have won. How do you view the Kansas City Chiefs now? Do you view them as a better or worse chance to go win the Super Bowl? Because, bro, I watched that game, and I don't know how you stop Kansas City. Seriously. If Mahomes is going to play the way that he did, you get Kelsey back involved. That catch by Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who hadn't been playing at all. I know Rashid Rice got banged up in that game, but it also, like, again, like the biggest thing that I woke up this morning kind of thinking about was you got to have the horses. You have got to have the guys. And I think what let Buffalo down was, number one, Gabe Davis didn't play in that game. I think that was a miss there. They still struggled to get Stephon Diggs the football. That game, yet again, was what? Josh Allen and a bunch of guys. And eventually, as close as they could have gotten, you still came up short. I'm riding two things. I think Kansas City is back. I think they're back. And if you're Buffalo, dude, what, like, you know, I don't know, Kincaid and Knox both got hurt at times, but, like, that offense seems so weird. You know what I mean? Like, they're just, the fact that we're in that game, he only threw for 186 yards. He had to run the football. Like, dude, I don't know, man. They're weird.
They're like,
the
kind of
Bills
like us.
are weird
They
to
need
me.
They need another wide receiver too.
Oh, yeah, they need a lot to go right. But especially next year, everything is going to be on. If Sean McDermott doesn't get fired this offseason, I don't think he will. But how do you call that fake punt when you did? People are losing that because they fumbled and you got the ball right back, and that's fine. But I still, like, that. What a bad mistake that was. What a horrible mistake that was. And I don't know if Buffalo fans are still grabbing onto that. I think more you wake up as a Buffalo fan, you realize Josh Allen is doing everything by himself, not like by create. It's almost like that's the offense they want to run. You know what I mean? It's like they want to say, yeah, we'll just have Josh Allen do everything. Got nobody else involved, not really spreading the football around, getting into, like, the fact that Stephon Diggs in a playoff game had 3 catches for 21 yards, they need to get rid of him. Seriously, maybe he's just holding up the offense. I don't know. Something ain't right with the Buffalo Bills. They're just way off. For Kansas City, get right game. You're back to believing kind of everything. Like, I still am a big believer in Kansas City. I'm going to pick them against Baltimore just because I don't want Baltimore to win either. But I do believe that Kansas City's primed right now.
This is such a bad Final Four for us. Outside of
For the
Detroit,
Browns?
outside of Detroit, like, if I have to go watch Brock Purdy throw 30 checkdowns to CMC in the Super Bowl, that sucks. If I have to go watch the Baltimore Ravens win a Super Bowl, that sucks because of their name. And then if I have to go watch the Chiefs win another Super Bowl, it's going to drive me insane.
No, it will. And that's, there are teams that you're going to have to continue to fight through as well because you believe that they're all going to be good for the next couple of years. And it is what it is. But that's the thing. Kansas City, who a lot of people had written off, you can't mistake that either of playing your best football when it matters the most. Unfortunately, what cost the Browns? They played their worst game of the year in the playoffs. They had their worst game of the year in the playoffs. And I don't want to sit here and revisit all that, but you would like to get to that level where specifically your quarterback, but the rest of your team has that maybe quiet confidence to know we can turn this on. And when we turn it on, we're going to be ready to go. And we're going to show up in these games when they matter the most and get the wins. And especially for Mahomes, what demon did he exercise? Well, he finally won on the road. Won on the road in the playoffs. And they're going to have to do it again this weekend up there in Baltimore. They're back in the AFC Championship game. But I took away from that game so much of, I'm going to put it on the offense more than a defense. I'm going to put it on my offense to go win games over defense because, frankly, Ryan, when the defenses need to show up, I don't think they really did. Now, if you want to say Detroit when they intercepted that pass, sure, fine. But really, what would you feel better about? Having to go score a 75-yard touchdown drive or having to stop a 75-yard touchdown drive? It seems to be, in today's NFL, you'd feel better having the ball in your hands if you got the right offense, if you got the right quarterback. But that's, I think, the way the NFL wants it, right?
How about this, Matt, for Josh Allen and the Bills? His cap hit, 2021, 10.2. 2022 was 16.4 million. 2023 was 18.6 million. Next year, 47.1 million.
Yeah.
First year that cap's really going to get affected by that Allen contract.
You know, and we talked with Jack Duffin last week. The cap gets moved and teams play with the money and all that kind of stuff, which is great. So they structure these deals that way. I'm assuming they'll be just fine. The thing is, how do you view Buffalo? Like, you're a top free agent. Do you have Buffalo knocking on your door going, hey, man, come play with us. We're really going to turn things around here. We're really going to be able to fix things here with you. I think there's a lot of pressure there with Buffalo.
Yeah, they need to get healthy, and then, like us, I don't know if they want to move on from Diggs or at least get somebody for him.
They literally have no choice but to get rid of Stephon Diggs.
The bright side for them is Dalton Kincaid is going to be a top 5 tight end in the league for many, many years to come.
Yeah. All right. I saw this came up this morning. Somebody just tweeted this, a take on the fumble into the end zone. And the point is, this is a tweet. That the fumble into the end zone makes perfect sense. The field is a battlefield. End zones are a team's fort. An unaccompanied football rolling into the team's fort belongs to them. The battlefield doesn't belong to anybody, so it fumbles out of bounds, then it stays with the offense. So you're saying because the end zones, which again you go back into, it's a safety or you're trying to score touchdowns. You buy that? Do you think that rule needs to be changed? I think that's a stupid rule.
I'm not
the fumble into the end zone out of bounds.
I'm not as adamant on it as I know some people are,
because
I think a big part of it is especially why it's such a big controversy in Cleveland. Is obviously because of that playoff game.
Right.
I don't hate the rule, but I don't like it.
Here's my issue on it: the defense did not recover the ball. If they want the ball, they need to recover it. If it goes out of bounds, it should stay with the offense and mark them back to the 15-yard line. That's what I would do. Mark them back. Whatever the down was. It's the next play, you're back at the 15. So, like, again, what was that play with, was it Rashid Rice or was it?
Mecole Hardman.
Mecole Hardman, thank you. Was that second down? Fumbled it going into the end zone. It's out of bounds. You go back to the 10 or 15-yard line, and now it's 3rd and goal from the 10 or the 15. I think that's the fix.
I'd like 25.
I think that's too penalized.
But if it's a touchback, it's a touchback. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess you could rule it that way, too. You could rule it that way. It is a fluky kind of freaky rule, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a little weird on exactly how that goes. What's not weird are the Cavs. Big action, big game tonight. Are we? Did we effort Tipico there? It's early morning for them. What we're going to do is we're going to get our boost up. We'll announce it a little bit later. And don't forget, Andrew Barry's talking at 11 o'clock this morning. So final segment coming up. I do want to run through the things that I want to hear from Andrew Barry coming up. So we'll get to our Cavs boost. We'll get to Andrew Barry coming up. But I want to take a little wine and go, Ryan. How have things changed for you as we approach even closer to the trade deadline? We know the Cavs aren't going to be able to make very many moves. This team that is currently built, what's the one thing you think they're missing? Because, maybe I'm a little jaded on how they've played. And they beat the Hawks up on Saturday night. They're not a good team. I fully expect them to win tonight against the Orlando Magic. But I kind of have this little twist in my head. You know what it was? The best version of the Cavs are the version they have right now. And it's not a shot at Mobley or Garland. But watching how this team plays, you ask yourself, do you have a dominant big? Okay, you can. Do you have a scoring guy? Okay, it could be Donovan Mitchell. Do you have guys that can hit the three? Yes, Max Strus, George Niang. Do you have guys off the bench that should be able to score? Yes. Karis LeVert, again, Niang, little Sam Merrill action, I like it. Do you have your backup guards? Yeah. I kind of had a little epiphany about how I view the Cleveland Cavaliers in this. I just need them to play well. The answers to fixing the problem for the Cavs, and I'm saying this not only because they don't have much to trade or they don't have much that they can do in free agency or buyouts and all that kind of stuff. Maybe they'll pick up a player here, that's fine. But I think the one thing that this stretch run has proven to me for the Cavs, they can play winning basketball as long as they show up. As long as they play the way that I expect them and know that they can play, I really think they can go toe-to-toe with any team, especially in a 7-game series. Now, I started this season by saying what? I want a top 4 seed, a home playoff series, and I want to remedy the situation that we had last year. I want that taste out of my mouth of how we lost to the New York Knicks. All that being said, I think this Cavs team is really good. I just need them to play the way that I know they're capable of playing. And maybe it took a little time for them to show up. Maybe I'm a little drunk on the minivan, George Niang. But I see all these pieces that they have assembled and they put it together. And damn, dude, I feel really good about where they're at. I do. And again, It's knowing that they can't do anything. But I look at this Cavs team and I say, it's there. Everything that I want you to do, every team, I guess the check mark of what I want. And again, I'd like a Luka Doncic. I'd like a Giannis. And maybe I'm a little drunk on that Milwaukee win when he wasn't out there. I get that. I know that. Outside of that, which I think Donovan Mitchell is in the realm of those guys, I think if you were to create a checklist of an NBA title contending team. The Cavs check off most of those boxes, do they not?
No, they do. It's just the real problem is how
you play
high
on a
of
thin
ceiling,
line,
right? How
too.
high is that ceiling
Right.
of a guy like Mitchell, of a guy like Mobley, who's hasn't really developed as much as fast as we would like. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like one thing that I would love to have, obviously, when you go back to when LeBron left, you're never going to get a player that caliber. It's not going to happen. But we haven't really had that real strong small forward position, a guy that actually puts legitimate fear on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, Isaac Okoro and Dean Wade, they can knock down threes, and they're pretty good on defense on the wing. But that would be the one thing that I would like to see. But necessarily, when you have all these guys, and if that's really your whole, the other parts make up for it.
Right, and that's where you're playing on a bit of a razor thin margin because the Cavs. I like Donovan Mitchell, but don't have a guy that can just instantly erase a lot of your problems. So they got to play a perfect brand of basketball. But I've seen when they play that brand of basketball, and I like it. And I think it's good. Now, the thing is we know in a couple of weeks when they get Mobley and Garland back, how you get these guys back into the system. Because you know it. I mean, I hate to say it. It's a little like the Cleveland Browns. You saw what this offense looked like with Joe Flacco. You got to reinsert Deshaun Watson into that, and you go, well, we know what it looks like without you guys. Let's just get you back into it, and if we need to, we're going to default back to how we were playing before. It's going to be fun, though. And I enjoy that the Cavs have made it relevant in a time that they could have packed it back in. They could have had every excuse under the sun about how tough it would have been, all that, and they didn't. And they found a way to win a lot of basketball games. I love it. Dude, and I've said this before, and I'm going to continue to say it again. I'm so excited. I'm so happy that I wake up. I know I got a Cavs game tonight. I'm excited that I get to sit down and watch a Cavs game tonight. So we'll get our boost up before the end of the show. Let's catch our final break of the morning. Remind everybody about Tipico. We'll jump in a time hop when we return. What do I got lined up for you? A movie and a TV show. A historic day in the NBA. And the Cavs made a pretty big move this day a couple of years ago. We'll get to that coming up. And Andrew Barry will speak to the media, speak to the fans coming up at 11 o'clock. We're going to run through the list of things that I want to hear from Andrew Barry. We'll do that, wrap things up. Fontana Show, Tipico code Fontana100. Sign up when you do that. Back right after this. All right, let's get into it. Our time hop for a Monday. It is the 22nd of January. Let's see what we got, including this day 2019. The Indians over-under for the season set at 90.5. Ryan, that year they would go 93-69. I very unfortunately think they're going to have a low over-under. Guards Fest coming up, though. Is that this weekend?
It was Saturday.
Oh, it's this past weekend. That's right. This past weekend. I mean, I just think maybe a bit of
I saw Stephen Kwan playing chess with some fans.
Oh, that's right. I saw Stephen Vogt. He was hitting infield. Because I tweeted, I said, you got a good coach when they know how to hit infield. So we'll be the pitchers and catchers. I think it might be a little bit of a down year for the Tribe coming up, but we'll see. Guards. This day, 2018. I remember this. Reports were the Cavs held an emotional team meeting. Some challenged Kevin Love for leaving a game due to illness. The locker room was full of finger pointing and Love having to defend himself. I remember that vividly because eventually that year the Cavs would make that huge trade. They'd basically trade out half of their roster and still somehow make it back to the NBA Finals. But at that point, it was so contentious. I mean, Love always here was the first guy to get traded and get moved on, but the finger pointing meeting this day 2018 was a pretty important one. This one goes down in history in a way. Because this day, 2016, the Cavs fired David Blatt. He went 83-40 in his year and a half with the Cavs. But the Cavs were one of the few teams in sports history to fire their coach while being in first place. We were leading the East at 30-11, and they fired David Blatt. Now, it all worked out because you got Ty Lue. You went to go win the title. I mean, just David Blatt was never the guy. And I say that, and it's hard to say. I know he's battling health issues now. But even when he first got here, everybody goes, wait a minute, what are you doing with this guy? Like, what's he trying to bring here? The NBA is something that more than any sport, I think you need to hire a former coach or a former player. Now, I say that Eric Spoelstra and Joe Mazzulla and Greg Popovich, and I know Pop played to a certain level, but I look around and there's so many coaches now that played. And I think that goes to such a long... I like JB Bickerstaff. I do. But David Blatt just never worked here, man. Like, what a crazy time that was. You were in first place in the East and you fire your coach.
So who was here after Lou? Was that
Oh.
The Michigan dude?
Yeah, John Beilein.
Yeah.
That did not work at all in any sense, in any stretch of the imagination. They turn over to JB Bickerstaff. Will JB Bickerstaff coach the Cavs to an Eastern Conference appearance at some point? Championship?
I hope
so, too. I like JB. Hopefully this year is the year. We'll have to see. Pretty sad one. This day, 2008, Heath Ledger passed away. All the other tributes are coming out. I mean, one of those ones you're just like, wait, what?
Damn, that's today.
Yeah, 2008. Sad one there, certainly. What could have been with the joke. I mean, just the fact that a young person. Dude, I think he was 28.
Yeah,
was he not when he passed away? So, very unfortunate one this day, 2008. All right, the historic one this day, 2006. 81 points for Kobe Bryant against the Raptors. Second most in NBA history, only behind Wilt's 100. He was 28 out of 46, 7 out of 13 from beyond the arc, and 18 out of 20 from the free throw line. 81 from Kobe Bryant this day, 2006. I want to look this up. I wanted to see if his shoes from that game, like his jersey or his shoes, were ever up for sale. I don't think so. The sneakers he did it were the Nike Kobe 1 Proto. And you can buy buy that shoe online. But I wanted to see if his actual shoe or his jersey ever came up from that game. There's no way that this is real. Kobe Bryant autographed 81-point game, embroidered authentic jersey. That's got to be fake. It's on eBay for $81,818. So all he did was 8181 the whole time. That can't be real. That can't be it, right?
I don't know. You think it should be more?
Yeah. No, I just didn't know if any of those would ever come like for sale. You know what I mean? From the 81-point game. But important one this day, 2006. This day, 1998, Ted Kaczynski was sentenced to life in prison for his mail bombings. This day, 1968, the NBA announced their expansion to Milwaukee for the Bucks and then the Phoenix Suns. This day, 1968. This day, 1857, the National Association of Baseball Players were founded in 1857. Very happy birthday goes out to Wayne Kirby, Indians outfielder of the past, Bucky Brooks, Jason Peters, former Cavalier Leon Poe, Greg Oden, Caitlin Clark, John Hancock, Guy Fieri, Steve Perry of Journey fame, and actress Diane Lane, all celebrating a birthday today. A movie and a TV show for you. I don't know about the movie. You might get it, you might not, but we'll start it up. This day, 2010. Okay. Jarvis comes down to save Sean Boswell from a biblical force.
So Paul Bettany? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, correct. Jarvis comes down to help Sean Boswell fight off a biblical force.
Is it like one of those alien movies, kind of? Maybe not alien, but like
Not
the day the
necessarily.
Earth stood still type thing.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
I don't know if I'm gonna get it.
Have you ever heard of the movie called Legion?
No.
So the story goes, Paul Bettany plays, I think, Michael, right? The Archangel? I don't know. I have this movie on DVD. I've watched it several times, and I actually really like it. But long story short, he comes down from heaven as the Archangel to fight off a bunch of angels. Because the story goes that God lost faith in humanity, so he sent a worldly force to destroy everybody. They need to keep this woman alive because she's having the baby that will save humanity. It's kind of a crappy movie. It's got Dennis Quaid in it too. I forget the name of the girl that was in it. She was in John Wick.
Willa Holland?
No. You're looking at the TV series, I think. There was a movie called Legion.
No, this is the movie.
Really?
Kate Walsh. Adrienne Palicki.
Adriana Palicki. That's it. She's the one that plays Charlie, the waitress. And then she's in John Wick. She plays that assassin in John Wick, Miss Perkins. It's not a great movie. I liked it. I've seen it. It is what it is. All right, next up, a television show this day, 2003. For a generation, this goes down as one of the best television shows of all time. It ended way before it really should have, but it's because the creator of this show said I was done making this TV show. Any guesses on that?
Lost?
No. This show gave us a lot of memorable gifs and memes from the skits.
Curb Your Enthusiasm?
No. Not of that genre. This is a completely different genre.
It had skits?
And honestly, we could borderline do a bracket on this, but I came up with another bracket, so we'll do it another day.
I'm thrown off by the skits. Whose line is it anyway?
No, that's another great show, but no. This guy got really famous on this show for doing Rick James, Clayton Bigsby, for the... Because why? Blank 'em. That's why.
Oh, Dave Chappelle.
Chappelle show. I Googled it quick. Pop Copy, the knee-high prank, Black George Bush. Oh, the Blank on You, the R. Kelly, when he remade the song from R. Kelly. Fisticuffs.
I like the one where it's like the zombie apocalypse, whatever. He's like addicted to crack.
Oh, that's, yeah. That's it. Yeah. Yep, right. Exactly that. So Chappelle show, this day, 2003, which is a legendary one. Remember all that? It is what it is. So great stuff there on Chappelle's show. All right, we'll get to our bracket coming up. We'll get to our Cavs Tipico boost coming up. But Ryan, Andrew Barry's going to talk about 20 minutes. So we'll have availability coming up. what is the number one thing you want to hear from AB coming up? Now, I know this offseason there's a lot still yet to be written about the free agency class, and they get ready for the draft. Even though we don't have the first pick, you still have an important draft coming up. What do you want to hear from Andrew Berry coming in about 20 minutes?
First thing that came to my mind was I would love to know his honest opinion on what his plans are moving forward in terms of, is he comfortable? Like, does he have full faith in Stefanski calling plays? What's the biggest things he's looking for in this new offensive coordinator?
That's going to be a lot of the questions. And I think it's going to be a lot of, well, you got to talk to Kevin or who we're talking to and play it out. I need some answers on some of the guys that we talked about with Jack Duffin. Now, we know Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski, they don't say anything. They're guarded in their words. But still, the questions need to be asked, and you will kind of rip apart what they say. Amari Cooper, Wyatt Teller, Greg Newsome, some of those guys, I need to know where Andrew Berry stands on those guys. I'd straight up ask him, are you picking up Greg Newsome's option? You know what he's going to say? We have plenty of time to figure that out. That's what he's going to say.
I'd like to pick his brain, too, about Nick Chubb.
That's another one. Are you talking extension? Are you talking restructuring some of these deals? Because the question will get asked about the salary cap. And again, the thing is, it's more about they're going to move that money. So you don't got to worry about that. But I just need to know, are you even entertaining the idea, knowing that some of these guys are going to leave? What are you going to do? The opposite pass rushers, Zadarius Smith. But my biggest thing for AB coming up here, Ryan, is I got a list of guys that I need to get his take on. And where's Nick Chubb in his rehab? Are you willing to restructure that deal? Are you bringing Amari Cooper back? Again, I keep going back to Greg Newsome. Are you picking up that fifth-year option? I'm sure the question will be asked about Jed Wills. And he'll never admit that he regrets picking. That's another position. Dude, what are you going to do with 3 tackles? What are you going to do with Jack Conklin, Jack Conklin, Jed Wills, and DeJuan Jones? We'll let the coach, I know that he's not going to say anything, and you got to piece through some of the words that he says. But there are a lot of roster questions that I have, and I'd like a little bit from AB. You know what I mean?
I bet you too. I mean, I got to imagine somebody's going to ask them about media leaks and how that played into the firings.
Yeah. Just a good reminder for the Big Play Cleveland show tonight. Be locked in.
I also really want to know too how much influence, if any, are they giving Deshaun Watson in his say on who's going to be offensive
Well, I mean, that question has been asked a few times before, and they're not wrong. I mean, that's another great question. Should Deshaun Watson have influence on the new OC? And I would say yes. I would actually say yes. You want to save that for our 2 for Tuesday for tomorrow? Yeah. Write that down. I like that question because I think without a doubt, your answer needs to be yes. Whether you like that or not, you have set this all up for Deshaun Watson. You have put this together that it rests on him. So with that in mind, go talk to him. Who's a guy you think you could work with? Who's a guy that you have run into in the past? Would you be open to Tim Kelly coming back? Well, Draw Johnson, who I don't remember if he was there. I don't think he was with Houston prior. You have got to get his input. But sure, I think that's a noteworthy question. So I'm going to do this list. I want to write this list down so that way we have it. What do we want to hear from Andrew Berry? Number 1, player questions. Chubb, Cooper, Teller, Newsome. Next up, hiring of the OC. Would you want Watson's input? Do you think somebody will ask him about his contract status? It's kind of an unfair question because you're like, it's not up to him. It's up to the ownership to get that deal done. But, you are going in the last year of your deal. There will be 1,000 questions about Watson. And I don't really know how you say other than we have to have belief in him that he's going to be the quarterback for this team moving forward, and we'll restructure the deal to give us some cap space and that kind of stuff. The question also, will wide receiver be your number 1 priority? And he'll never again answer that, because he'll give some answer, we want to improve the team. He always marked this down too. And we did the drinking game. I used to do the preseason drinking game. I could do this for the press conference. Mark my words and take a few sips of your coffee when he drops we approach every offseason like we have an expansion team. That's one of his favorite lines. When anybody asks him about how they approach to getting talent, he says, we always do as we're an expansion team. So we want to add as many good players at as many good positions as we can. So mark that down as a statement that'll come from Andrew Berry. But yeah, I mean, you had a successful season from the standpoint you made the playoffs. You didn't have your best game. Do you think Andrew Berry's on the hot seat at all? That's another great question we'll probably get to tomorrow. I was going to react a lot to what AB had to say on tomorrow's show. But, like, I think he's done a pretty good job. I think he's had a solid track record. Now, the thing is, for as many good things as you can look at, there are ones that you're going, okay, scratch your head. The Jed Wills fifth-year option, which dude, can I just say this? That impacts your view of the Greg Newsome one. How can it not, right? Where that was very clearly a screw-up. Shouldn't have done that. That'll bleed over on how you view the Greg Newsome fifth-year option, which has to be picked up by May. I believe those are tough waters. That's a tough thing. And maybe it shouldn't. Maybe you don't want to believe that they should be independent of one another. But Andrew Berry's still a human being, and there's still going to be some bias influenced on that when he thinks about sitting down to pick up Greg Newsome's fifth-year option when the last one he picked up kind of blew up in his face a little bit.
All right, let me ask you this, Matt. I'm going to give you a list of players, and I want you to tell me you can only say bust, or not bust, but you can only say fail or success. That's all
Pass,
you can
fail. Pass, fail.
Say. Pass, fail.
Sure.
Okay. And this is for last season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Zadarius Smith.
Fail.
Agreed. Elijah Moore.
Fail. Epic fail.
Agreed. Juan Thornhill.
Pass, because I think he's good when he plays. He just got hurt.
Okay. And he's also guaranteed money, so that's good that
Right.
he said pass. Who am I missing? Oh, Obo. Okoronkwo.
Pass, again,
I'm fine with that.
For what it is, I think that's fine.
I'm fine with
yeah,
that.
that's fine with that.
Shelby Harris.
Pass. I thought he played well.
And Dalvin.
Pass.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
So he hit like four for 6?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty close on the free agency side of things. Now, if you want to go draft pick, said Tillman.
Right.
Pass, fail.
I mean,
Sione Ika. Fail. He never played.
Yeah.
Like, the draft class, and again, they're rookies without being first-round guys. What do you want them to do? But that's this offseason. Let me put it this way. The holes aren't as big on this team anymore. They have shored up the amount of holes that you have. Now, the problem is, I still think you have a giant, deep crevice. You know what I mean? Like, instead of filling a little bit, a couple of potholes, like small, you'd have more holes and smaller ones. You got a Grand Canyon right now, and that is finding a wide receiver for this team. While you don't have as many holes to plug up, you got one big one, and I think that's finding a wide receiver for this team. That has got to be a priority number one. That's got to be it. And the restructuring of the deals, the money that you get. We talked to Jack Duffin about the money that you might have to take away from some guys to allocate to a wide receiver. You have no choice but to find one. You have got to find a number one receiver on this team because, yes, Amari Cooper is a number one. He's not going to be able to play to that level forever. And I want to keep Amari Cooper. Like, dude, if I could bundle up every other wide receiver that we have and ship them off for like a true number one, I would do that in a heartbeat. You got quantity. You don't have quality. I need a quality receiver on this team. So that's got to be it. And Andrew Berry has found some diamonds in the rough in the draft pick. You're going to ask him to do it again. You do have a second-round pick this year, which, again, what a miss that was on Elijah Moore.
Hopefully, 2 when we trade Greg.
I have quite a few Greg Newsome questions that Andrew Berry hopefully will answer coming up in a little bit. So I'm interested to hear. So really the things we want. Player questions. Chubb, Cooper, Teller, Newsome. Hiring of the OC. Do you want Deshaun Watson's input on that? Will wide receiver be the number one priority? Who knows about that? And we'll see what else he's got to say.
I do want to hear about why they fired Stump and McCartney.
Yeah. I mean, those are questions to be. You folks don't even know the level of the Matrix glitch that we just had.
That was
here.
the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Man.
I know. I just will promote it again. The Big Play Cleveland show tonight. I'll just say it again.
That's unreal.
Isn't that unreal? Isn't that weird timing? That is the craziest timing you think you've ever. And folks we can't even turn the camera to show you. But there was somebody that was standing just right there. That was right there. Just Big Play Cleveland show tonight. Let me remind you on all that. All right, so AB coming up. We'll react to that tomorrow. Ryan, let's get to our brackets. Are you ready to go? You don't even know what
I don't even know what it is.
You don't even know what it is.
Let's hear
Ryan, 'tis the season. The best soup.
Best soup.
Best soup. So not individual in the town. I'm talking about type of soup. New England clam chowder, chicken and rice, Italian wedding, matzo ball, all of that. Your favorite soup. So tweet that out. I hope you use a GIF of the soup Nazi from Seinfeld. Please do.
I was already in my mind.
All right, so tweet that out at Matt Fontana Show. And again, I'm not talking about you go to this bar because they have really good soup. We're talking about the type of soup, your favorite type of soup. New England clam chowder is one of my favorite.
Never had it.
Lobster bisque, delicious.
Never had it.
Tomato bisque, delicious. All of that. We'll put that up for a bracket. We'll tweet that out. We'll take your response on that. We'll get the bracket set and ready to go for tonight. Cavs! I'm just going to assume that they will get us our boost.
Yeah, Nick said he submitted it.
Okay, submitted it in. So here's our boost for tonight. Cavs taking on the Orlando Magic. Let me get you some trends for tonight. The Magic are a 1-point home favorite. The over-under is a low 215.5. I think on the NBA slate tonight, Ryan, that's the lowest. I got a 218 in the Minnesota game. And, yeah, that's by far the lowest over-under for tonight. So let's see what we got. I will start with the Cavs in this one. Wine and Gold come in 6-1 against the spread their last 7-game win streak. How about this? The Cavs are 5-1 straight up in their last 6 games against the Orlando Magic. You flip it over for Orlando. They're just 2-5 straight up in their last 7. 6-2 straight up their last 8 games played on a Monday. Orlando, though, 11-2 straight up in their last 13 games when they play as a favorite. I'm taking the over, even though the under would be the play tonight.
Oh, is Orlando the favorite?
Orlando's a 1.5-point favorite,
Wow.
which is weird. The under is 15 out of the last 20 games between the Magic and the Cavs. And the under has hit 8 out of the last 10 games between the Magic and the Cavs down in Orlando. Excuse me. But, dude, 215? 215? That's a low over-under. We got to take the over on that. Under has hit 5 out of the last 6 home games for the Atlanta Magic, so we'll see on that. But I'm taking the Cavs tonight. So here's going to be our parlay. And again, folks, we'll tweet it out, and we believe and hope that they'll be able to get it to us. We're going to do George Niang over 10 points. We'll do over the 215.5, and we'll take the Cavs money line tonight. So that will be our boost. We'll put that up at Tipico. Sign up using that code Fontana100 when you do. You bet and deposit $25. You'll get $100 in bonus bets when you sign up. You can use that on our boost. You can use that on the flex parlay. You can use that on whatever you'd like to get signed up for that as we roll on. So Andrew Berry coming up in about 10 minutes, so we'll be interested to hear what he asked about that. Gearing up for a big weekend of football. And again, the Cavs tonight, it's great stuff. And we'll get to our bracket as well. I feel like I'm missing something. What am I missing? We did the bracket. You know what I'm missing is that I haven't. Usually I log in and do the Tipico boost. You know what I mean?
Maybe that's it.
That's it. That's what I'm feeling. I haven't done. So we'll get that up, sign up with our friends to go at Tipico. I had a pretty good weekend for us. Pretty good weekend on the betting side of things to go.
Yeah.
3-4. I think.
Because we all agreed. We had the same.
We had all the same games. So we hit Baltimore, which I didn't think they were going to cover for a good time, covered. San Francisco won but didn't cover. We won on Detroit, and then we won on KC outright. I mean, I think I picked the money line, but we both took them plus the points anyway.
Yeah.
So 3 out of 4 on the weekend as we gear up. Big weekend coming up in football, so we'll be geared up for that. And, dude, Andrew Berry coming up. I'm really excited to see what he has to say. So we'll get to that, react to it tomorrow on a 2 for Tuesday. Appreciate everybody joining us this morning. I cannot say this enough again. You're going to want to tune in to the Big Play Cleveland show tonight because the special guest that they will have on was standing just right there. And we almost spoiled it, but we didn't. So tonight, Big Play Cleveland show. You got Blake and Greg Williams with Come Get Some. You got Hanford Dixon. Monday is always the place to be. And, of course, Chico 12 to 2 coming up today as well. Across the Big Play channel, folks. Follow us on Twitter. We're up on Instagram. Follow us on the YouTube channel. Big Play or each of the shows have their own individual one. We're at Matt Fontana Show for everything. Drop us a follow there. Get geared up for it. And I'm just going to say it again. You don't want to miss the Big Play Cleveland show tonight for their special guest. Get geared up for that. Great stuff. Go Cavs tonight. Get it done. Wine and gold. We'll talk to you on a Tuesday edition. For Ryan Tyler, I'm Matt Fontana. As always, take it easy.